TV trash. Prepare to have it stuck in your heads again. It will never leave, it will never leave. In 2013, blogger Eric Ling declared DuckTales to be the most influential animated series in history, and he makes a good point, as it was the first show to prove that cartoons could be produced for television with high-quality animation and be profitable. Adapted from the legendary Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck comics penned by Carl Barks and later Don Rosa, Disney's first ever syndicated cartoon series became such a huge hit that it led to many more syndicated cartoons from the mouse-eared regime, eventually allowing them to create the Disney Afternoon, which was one of the building blocks toward the renaissance of animation. How big was it? This series was Kim Possible before Kim Possible, in that its popularity convinced Disney to extend it past the 65 episodes it originally contained, all the way up to 100. However, the results of that extension may have been why Disney took so long in allowing another series to go past that limit, because those last episodes did make it look like the show was past its prime. It started when Disney approved the production of 2 new 5-part story arcs that were originally shown as 2-hour primetime movies in 1989 before moving into the episode rotation. But these were made with a different production crew. Fred Wolf had been supervising producer for the original episodes, but now he was running his own studio that was producing a certain new hit show. And also the main writers from the first series, Ted Anasti and Patsy Canran, were replaced as well. We may get into the Time is Money story arc in detail one day, but for now, let's take a look at the second one, which to me is when the show really went off the tracks. This is SuperDuckTales. The story arc opens with Big Time Bouncer and Burger Beagle having broken into City Hall to commit the heinous act of fudging blueprints.
With these changes, we'll be able to give Ma that special present she's always wanted.
Ah, jeez, guys, the city went to a lot of trouble determining whose homes would be seized and condemned by eminent domain, and now you go and all mess it up. We move ahead to the next morning where Scrooge McDuck gets an unpleasant sight. Bulldozers plowing apart Kill Motor Hill. Actually, do they ever really call it that in this show?
What do you think you're doing on my property? Building a new superhighway, sir. I'll be pillow stuffing before that happens.
Wait, did he say he'll be pillow stuffing? Do they actually use duck feathers for pillows in this world? This show just got really dark.
The city's got to change its plans. I'm not about to move me money bin.
Look, you can't fight City Hall, Mr. McDuck.
Wow, now there is proof that this is a fantasy universe. Forget the fact that this show has featured witches, dragons, ghosts, and other magical creatures, but here, the richest guy in the world has no political influence? This is like the Koch brothers' worst nightmare world! So Scrooge now has to somehow move the largest building in the city, and upon realizing he'll need to empty it out first, he decides he needs to hire an accountant to keep track of it. I seem to recall he had an accountant once, but I guess he got scared and quit after Scrooge didn't take his last bit of news very well.
A sea monster ate my ice cream! A sea monster ate my ice cream!
We then cut to the new addition of the cast, Fenton Crackshell, a literal bean counter who lives in a trailer with his berating mother and wants a new job that will make him more appealing to his crush, Gandra D. No furry jokes! And thus he jumps at the chance at the accountant's job that Scrooge just posted flyers on lampposts for. And knowing Scrooge, I can see him considering newspaper ads to be too expensive.
Who's this nut?
Fenton Crackshell's the name. Near grad of the Banana Brand Fakes Buck for Ducks Business Brochure course.
Near grad?
2 more buck tops, I get my diploma. Hey, let me go! This is my big break!
Fenton keeps begging for the job until Scrooge tries to chase him off with a shotgun blast, only to have Fenton correctly count the pellets, which convinces Scrooge to hire him. Yeah, that shotgun part got edited out in some reruns after people complained about the violence, but not the scene where Scrooge sends a guy flying out a window. It's been long established his office is on the money bin's top floor, so yeah, he just catapulted someone to his death. So Fenton gets the job, though his lazy-ass mother isn't impressed, and he immediately looks for a way to impress his new boss in finding where to stash the cash during the move.
You dumped my money in the lake? Of all the idiotic, bagpipe-brained ideas!
Now, I'm going to admit right now, a lot of the issues I have with this story arc are about how so many plot elements rely on actions of the characters that don't make sense, especially within the context of the show. Keep in mind, I know DuckTales is a fantasy adventure setting where you have to rely on suspension of disbelief in a lot of areas. So I can accept how Scrooge is able to get the bin propped up onto a vehicle that can tow it like an RV. He's the richest duck in the world, he has those types of resources, I saw Goldie Gold with more ludicrous gear. And when the Beagles sucker Scrooge into moving the bin to a mountaintop they can blow up and send it down into Ma Beagle's backyard, Scrooge's response is to pretend to be a tax assessor and say they owe so much tax and fines they have to take it away, rather than just do so because they can still operate the vehicle. Hey, it's a funny scene, I'll let it pass. But it's after that when things start getting dumb. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who sadly don't get a lot of screen time in this arc, follow Scrooge to the lake and find the money there, which is how the Beagles discover its location, and then they trick Fenton into dumping termites on the dam to get it to burst and send the lake and the money with it right to Ma Beagle. Look, I know how this is meant to establish that Fenton isn't the sharpest tool in the box, but there's just so much more stupid needed to make this plot work. We have the stupidity of whoever helped Fenton dump all of Scrooge's cash in the lake without checking with Scrooge to okay it. We have the stupidity of Scrooge, who should know by now that not divulging information to the boys will always lead to them snooping around. Oh, and let's not forget why in the hell Duckburg's Parks Department would have even built a dam out of wood. You know, the material that rots with prolonged exposure to water? That dam would have burst over time anyway.
Your best bet is to freeze your asset.
Do you honestly think that frozen assets means freezing the lake?
Yes. No. Forgive me.
Fenton, your mind may be in a cloud, but every so often a ray of brilliance peeks through.
Yep, they freeze the water with giant fans before hauling it away with a giant ice pick. But this is another plot point whose ridiculousness I can go for. Again, you can do that when you have the resources of the richest duck in the world. I can accept that. They recover all of Scrooge's cash and return it to the bin in its new location. But Fenton screws up again as he calls Scrooge to confirm all the money is secure, having used Scrooge's #1 dime to make the call.
Labyrinth Latherskite. I thought it was for emergency phone call.
Wait, he made a phone call with a dime? Is DuckTales set in the 1960s or something? As Fenton tries to get the dime back from the phone company, then the bank the company deposited it in, then the Beagle Boys who robbed the bank, Scrooge has Gyro build a robot for him to guard the bin.
Make sure it doesn't let anyone near the bin.
Yeah, Scrooge should have known Gyro would take that literally. This isn't looking good for your own track record, Scroogey.
Gyro, sometimes you're too efficient. Thanks. Now listen, genius. Go home and build me another security guard. Only this time, make sure it has a brain.
This leads Gyro to build the robotic suit Gizmo Duck, which Fenton is able to commandeer because the suit's activation code word happens to be Fenton's catchphrase.
Blabber and blatherskite! Ow! Ah, no, let go! Puffy and canned like a tuna!
Man, I know what that's like to deal with. There was this time Perkins built that robotic girl kitty play doll and thought frack was a good activation word. I don't want to get into any other further details. Gizmo Duck is able to recover the dime from the Beagles, and yeah, Baggy has now been added, but we will see more Beagle Boys later anyway. But he loses his instruction manual in the process. Okay, ripping off Greatest American Hero much?
I'll have 7 silly meals, 40 bags of crinkle fries, 23 root beer floats, and 1 Diet Cola. That'll be a large bag of dimes, please.
Thanks, sucker! At last, an employee who doesn't goof up like that feeble-headed Fenton.
Despite losing the manual, Gizmo Duck is ultimately able to destroy the other robot when his suit goes haywire from pushing all of his buttons at once. And the third part of this arc is mostly about Gizmo Duck rising to superhero status in Duckburg, especially after he rescues the boys and a number of other citizens who are taken hostage by the Beagles.
I decorate you with the Duckburg Stainless Steel Super Sleuth Award.
No doubt Scrooge merchandised the hell out of this, and Gizmo Duck didn't get a dime in royalties. But Ma Beagle finds the manual in the Beagle-mobile, is it okay to call it that? And thus she springs her most intelligent son, Megabyte Beagle, who uses the manual to construct a remote control for the Gizmo suit that causes Gizmo Duck to go on a rampage.
Oh, excuse me!
Coming through!
This is better than the Home Shopping Network.
Ultimately leading to him breaking into the mansion and tying up Scrooge and Duckworth so he can get control of the money bin's towing vehicle. But why doesn't Fenton just remove the suit? He knows by now that a TV remote signal will make it fall off, so why not just tell Scrooge to zap him with one? Is he that desperate to keep his secret that he'll go along with actually stealing the money bin for the Beagles? And yeah, it's here in part 4 that the story just gets out of hand, as while the Beagles hide the bin in plain sight in downtown Duckburg and start splurging with Scrooge's money, Scrooge is now so poor that he defaults on a payment at his own bank, which leads to them foreclosing on his mansion and selling it to the Beagles. Now, first, I must admit that this is one of the things about the show in general I never completely got, and I think is perhaps one of the reasons Barks and Rosa themselves were never too keen on this series. The plot element that Scrooge always becomes completely penniless anytime he loses the money in the bin. I mean, it's established in the comics that the cash in his bin is not his entire fortune. It's a huge chunk of it, sure, and the part he values the most because it's the money he spent years earning as a world traveler, but he still has plenty of assets elsewhere. Heck, in the Time is Money arc, it was stated he still had other assets even after the Beagles got a hold of his bin. But now we're back to him somehow losing everything because he lost the bin. And the second part, how in the hell are Ma Beagle and her sons able to casually come in and buy up the place? Having trillions of dollars now shouldn't supersede the fact that they're all still wanted criminals. It's been stated they're all facing life sentences. How are the police not coming after them? And it just gets dumber. As Scrooge and everyone are forced to stay at launch pads, the boys sneak into the mansion to get proof that the Beagles stole everything and find out that sure enough, they have control of Gizmo Duck. But instead of trying to get the remote, they just grab a few dollars that Scrooge can identify as his own. They don't even tell him about Gizmo Duck. And when Ma Beagle just throws it right back and claims he stole from her, the cops take her side and arrest Scrooge. And he has no chance of getting off because her sons are the only people in town willing to serve on jury duty. Which I think the record of, again, being wanted fugitives would render them ineligible to do. This entire section of the plot can only come about because the entire city of Duckburg has forgotten that the Beagles are the world's biggest crooks. Heck, it looks like someone behind the scenes with this show has a weird obsession with this plot device, because this is the third time in the series that Scrooge has been thrown in jail for a crime he didn't commit, including the Time is Money arc that immediately preceded this one. This leads the boys and Mrs. Beakley to try and commit an actual crime in busting Scrooge out, which just gets Beakley thrown in the slammer as well. And when they realize Gizmo Duck is their only hope, they finally get the remote from the Beagles to use him to bust Scrooge out instead of using it as proof that the Beagles were lying all the time. So yeah, they make Gizmo Duck commit one more felony in busting out Scrooge and Beakley, and suddenly that point of the story is just up and dropped. Geez, Duckburg's criminal system is more wonky than Hazard County. And the Beagles try to escape town with the bin when... So, we've had Scrooge's money tossed into a lake, hidden with the bin in the middle of town, and now dumped in the ocean. Is there any possibility we've missed so far? That'll be it. Yeah, the bin gets stolen by aliens. So now part 5 becomes a space adventure where Scrooge, Launchpad, and Gizmo go into space in...
the USS Jumpstart, the first rocket with a clutch. Hard to fly, but easy on the pocketbook. Gets 35 light years to the gallon.
Yeah, but finding a gas station that offers unleaded rocket fuel is almost as hard as finding a power station for electrics today. They track the bin down to the sister planet of Cybertron 1, where alien robots are planning to melt down Scrooge's money to make more of them. So wait, this is a planet of machines that have to steal metal from other worlds in order to reproduce? Where did the original robots come from? Oh good golly, it all makes sense now. The Disney universe is in some future world and they just stumbled upon the old Earth after the robot apocalypse. When they confront the master electronic leader about this, he strips Gizmo Duck of his gear, and Scrooge finally discovers that it's Fenton. And there's another question. Sure, Scrooge never would have suspected Fenton was Gizmo Duck, but was he even wondering what happened to Fenton all this time? I mean, he hadn't seen him since he demanded Fenton get his dime back. Did he just assume Fenton gave up and never returned? Is it common for Scrooge's employees to run away and never come back?
A sea monster ate my ice cream. A sea monster ate my ice cream. Ah!
Oh yeah. The three of them are going to be turned into axle grease, but Fenton is just able to slip out of a robot's grasp and challenges the leader to, not kidding about this, a counting contest.
2,475. 2,963. 952. You're falling behind. Just one more. Count these bolts.
3,091.
Sorry, Mel. These are nuts, not bolts. Trick question. You lose. An inferior unit. Labyrinth Blatherskite!
Huh, you wouldn't have thought robots would remain this loyal after their leader was destroyed. Clearly Bender didn't come from this planet. Whatever, Fenton reclaims the Gizmo suit, rescues Scrooge and Launchpad, and orders them to fly home, as Gizmo then proceeds to destroy the entire planet by again pushing all his buttons. There's a joke there I can't make without the SJWs coming after me.
Oh, what a sight for poor eyes.
But we still have time for one more bit of insanity, so Launchpad actually ejects the bin into space and...
Sheesh. What he won't do to save a couple of quadrillion dollars.
Yippee! Hi-yo, silver dollar!
I'm out! So the bin miraculously crashes back down to Earth in one piece on what's left of Killmotor Hill. Scrooge assures Fenton he still has a job as both his accountant and Gizmo Duck. Fenton finally gets the courage to stand up to his mom and ask out Gandra D, and everyone lives happily ever after. Well, except for the fact that Scrooge, Gizmo Duck, and Beakley are still wanted fugitives, and Scrooge and the boys are still without the mansion, but hey, everything back to normal. That was SuperDuckTales. It was freaking nuts! Let me make this clear. I loved DuckTales as much as anyone else from my generation. It, to me, remains the benchmark for Disney animated television for creativity and great characters and stories. And even this art is still a lot better than a lot of what is on the air now. But this story just goes so off the rails in its final 2/5 that it comes off like a bad fanfic that Disney approved of just to help get extra publicity for the show in preparation for the launch of the Disney afternoon. When the DuckTales theatrical movie had more cohesion, and that involved a genie of the lamp, that really says something. It definitely comes off to me as the point where the show jumped the shark, as Gizmo Duck ended up stealing the spotlight for many of the 15 remaining episodes that were produced after this. Donald never again appeared in the series. There was only one episode that featured Magica as an antagonist, and none of those episodes have yet to get a DVD release as far as I can tell. But hey, even with its later flaws, DuckTales still might have been the best thing Disney ever produced for television. And it may never have happened had the company not taken a big gamble with another show a few years earlier. We'll talk about that next time on TV Trash.